Welcome to the Men on Purpose podcast, featuring dynamic conversations with emerging and established visionary men on purpose. Thanks for joining us today as we celebrate the men on purpose who are committed, creative, courageous changemakers, living their best, most fulfilling life possible. Now, here's the host of Men on Purpose, Ian Lobas.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Men on Purpose podcast. Welcome back to those of you who have been here before. We love having you. We thank you. We're very grateful for you. Today on this episode, we're in the Men on Purpose studio, and I'm sitting across from my main man, AV, as most of you know him now, or Aaron Velky. If you don't know who he is, you're soon to find out. And Aaron and I have a lot of ventures together. The most notable is our front runner business, events, coaching, would you say seminars? No, not really. Seminars kind of sounds boring.
It sounds like you're going to sit for 9 hours and bleed your eyes out.
That's not us. No, that's not us at all.
It's like, retreats are good. Maybe a good name. Maybe like workshops.
I totally blanked on that. It's front runner retreats. They are motivational, personal development, and transformational retreats.
There you go.
Right.
That sounds wonderful.
And I think we also threw in there personal evolvement retreats.
I think we might have made that word up.
We did. No, we totally did.
Amazing word.
We totally did. They are. You will evolve. It's one of our promises, and our mission at the event is for you to leave there understanding and knowing that weekend with us is where your life shifted and pivoted in a very positive and purposeful way. Period. That's our mission the entire time. We're not trying to teach you something. We're not trying to sell you anything. And this isn't a pitch for front runner, by the way. This is just that's what we love to do.
We do.
Yeah, we love to do. So anyway, welcome to this episode where we're going to be talking about evidence versus emotion.
Evidence versus emotion.
And our promise on this show is to constantly elevate, educate, empower, enrich, and evolve the information that we bring you, ourselves, and subsequently you, so that you can live whatever life you feel you want to live without restriction or constraint. That's awesome.
That is.
That's awesome. And remember, constriction or restraint covers a lot of stuff.
Dude, that's any
money, time
wall you've hit.
Right.
Any wall.
Right. We keep personal development, personal evolvement, and transformation freaking simple. We keep it real simple.
That's not to say it's easy.
It's not easy. We make it simple for you to get like the really deep level concepts versus, having to sit in something for hours and hours and hours and hours, or days or weeks or months. You'll walk out of one of our events or one of our coaching sessions understanding the next move. And that's big. It might sound small, but that is very big. To not get lost in that minutia of ideas and terminology and things that your brain's like, what the hell? Man.
Yeah, the difference, at least from my experience in personal development, the difference is not, our focus is not what do you know, what can you think, how can you act, but we really laser in on what can you do.
Yeah. And who can you be?
Yeah.
Or become.
And the pathway, I think the action steps from an event to real life is really, the threshold is really narrow, so that it's not fabricated when you go home to where you're trying to pull strings and say, I don't really know how to use this.
Sure.
I've got this great toolbox, but no one showed me how to use a miter saw in my living room.
Right. That's a great point.
It's really digestible. We're handing you a pencil and a piece of paper. You know how to use that. You already know how to use it, and you go home and apply it. It's great.
That's the big difference between obviously we've been intentional in building front runner events, but like I would go to events before and I'd leave there and I'd go, holy hell. I just got so much info, but like, what do I do with this? How do I use this? How do I actually apply this to my life? Not the guy on stage worth $50 million, not the guy who's a guru over here, or this guy has this $200 million company. Like, how do I apply this to my life and my family and my real estate business and my coaching business and my podcast? Like, that's a big piece that we said is missing in a lot of other places. So the front runner events and our coaching is very customized to the individual. Because if you think about it, we all have the same type of problem.
Totally is, dude. I had a really, I know we're not in evidence and emotion yet, but
No, we're
this is
leading.
tied. Like
Leading there.
I had a phone call with somebody this week about coaching, and we were kind of going back and forth in what's more appropriate to invest in. And one was, I want to bring somebody in that can help us scale the business, and is going to teach us systems and all this. And I think that's a really good use of capital if your business is ready for that. The other conversation was kind of what I do and what we do, where we're talking about evolving you as a human being,
right,
so that your leadership, your values, and all that are now replicated and streamlined in the business. And it was interesting to have this talk because, on the one hand, scaling your business, a lot of people have that conversation, right? A lot of business owners are like, I want to scale, let's do it.
Right. It's a buzzword.
Totally. And you're like, it's exciting, right? You're just like, whip, and you get to reap the benefits of that.
Yeah.
But I do think that often we skip over, how am I evolving? And, particularly as a business owner, the way you are is the way your culture is, whether you want it to be or not. And that means that your values are going to show up in the business. If you're not clear on your values, your business will not show clear values.
Sure.
It's just like, this nebulous state. And it was really cool to walk through. Here's how you're going to evolve. Here's how that ripples to your business. Here's how everything comes from you as the top of the pyramid, so to say.
Yeah.
It's cool.
That is so we do a lot of corporate coaching and big group coaching in companies. And that's one of the biggest topics that we say to people so they can just understand it in a very basic sense is the, whatever you want to call it, the quote, the adage, right?
Axiom.
Yeah. Your business grows to the extent that you do. And that is so freaking true that I have those questions with people too about coaching. I'm thinking about either hiring a personal development coach or someone that can help me scale my business. And they'll say, well, I'm both. However, I will only do the one first, because if I do the scale the business part, I don't feel it's as responsible with the awareness that I have of, if you grow, your business will grow so much more sustainably, because you won't have a hit point where the rubber band stretches to its max and you snap back, but your business won't snap back. Yeah. It's a lag to your snap back. And so you'll stretch it, it'll stretch, you'll bounce back, your business will be out here, your employees will see it, and then you'll come back up, but your business will snap back. And that's how people do the roller coaster in business all the time.
Yeah, dude. I think about it a lot like a martial art. Like you don't learn how to do any crazy, highly weaponized stuff until you've built the discipline to manage your emotions in those hyper stressful states.
So true.
And, if we're going to walk through someone developing like they would in a martial art, we have to craft your mind. We have to craft your body. We have to craft your values. And then, and only then, can we teach you how to become a human weapon. Right. And, and it's similar in business. The business leadership is the weapon of the business, right? It's the way that things change. It's the way that things get enforced. It's the way that culture formulates. All those pieces are based on the human. So it's a lot of fun what we do. Ian and I are really enjoying being a coach, and that's very fulfilling. We're also watching it change and ripple out into the lives of many. Yeah. Which, to me, like I've now closing the year out, had a lot of touch points with clients, and to look back at someone, 12 months ago, which right now in 2020 feels like a world ago.
A huge amount of time.
So it's really neat to look back and just to as a coach reflect on their growth, to as a coach reflect on mine and our growth, and then to guide them through the reflection of their own growth. Yeah, which that's the magic.
Yeah, and that's part of the year-end wrap-up that I'm doing. I do a live Google Doc that we keep all the progress in, where you're feeling, what you're doing, how you're attacking this, how you're doing that. And so what we do is we go back through the doc and go, just take a look at page 14. That was you in February, or that was you in June. Take a look at that. That's how you thought. That's how you, and then look at you today. Look at the writing you just wrote down. Look at the goals you just set, because now you know that's possible. It's just very interesting. And somebody told me years ago, keep those documents with clients, because when So here's your segue. When the emotion comes up, you need to go back to the document for the evidence.
The evidence.
Yep.
That is a tremendous
Boom.
segue. Here we are.
So ironically, now we're going to be talking. We're going to be talking about evidence versus emotion. And for those of you that don't know what that is, just sit back. We'll explain it to you. We're also going to give you a ton of examples and some exercises to do. Again, not a ton of exercises, just one or two to do to actually sit yourself down and work yourself through emotion that you're feeling. Remember, emotion and fear and those kind of things, pain, those are brought up from the past. They're brought into your present. And at that moment, you have a choice whether to carry them through to make a decision with that for the future or to leave it in the past. And these exercises will help you do that. At the end of the day, you're responsible and accountable to that moment that you make a choice. So don't think like, oh, I got these exercises and they don't work. They only work if you work. That's it. They only work if you work. The amount of effort that you put into them is the commitment that you have to changing, fixing, growing, transforming, whatever word you want to use, yourself. And so they are going to look very simple, but they are not. They are very complex if you want them to be for your own transformation and whatever stage you're looking to go to in life. So that's it. Episode over.
Mike, well, I would tell you to drop the mic, but it might damage the mic.
Yeah, it's true. They're my mics.
we don't have unlimited.
These are $9,000 mics, Aaron.
Don't drop the mic.
Just kidding. They're $99.
Don't drop the mics.
No.
We're going to be financially intelligent.
I should have a button that is a mic drop button.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah. No, that's not on.
No,
they don't even work.
That's epic.
I don't know.
Wow. I don't know if they can hear that, but it's a very sad sound.
They can hear it.
That's a good sound.
Oh, that's the audience cheering for evidence versus emotion.
They can't wait.
I love this mixing board. It's a Rodecaster Pro. It comes with all these different buttons for sound effects. Anyway, so why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, this is a topic I love to talk about. Here's how I break this down. When we find moments of challenge, moments of contest, moments of maybe opportunity, we often have a lot of different emotions that go through. So these moments, they hit us. This 2020 was a year where a lot of these different powerful moments hit, and we go through these emotions. Now, let's take a very simple example. Everything shuts down in March. The emotion that we get is fear.
Yeah.
So that's an emotion.
Well, that was real for a lot of people because you don't have any evidence.
Totally.
Which is that's a cool one.
Yeah. So you hit this emotion, and that's part of the moment is the emotion. The other half of the moment is the evidence, the real, factual, statistically backed. Statistically backed pieces of evidence that we can look at to understand how to manage our emotions.
Sure.
And whether or not they're real.
Now, what if somebody right now sitting in their car going, yeah, but Aaron, how do we know what evidence is real? How do we know what data is real that the news is giving us? Or, I mean, yeah, the government's not giving you anything factual. So how do you know?
Look, the facts that you're looking for are either internal,
right,
or they are based on the choices that you make. This isn't like look for facts in the news, look for facts in the post. This is look for facts internally. So I'll make it concrete with some examples. So March, everything shuts down. I've got a business in education, and I've got our business, which is events.
Yeah.
Those two things. And what I know at that moment, as far as evidence goes, is that our world is likely going to change.
Yeah.
That's the only evidence I have. It's likely going to change. And I feel, my emotion is that the world is going to end.
Right.
Right. My business is going to collapse, all these different things. But that emotion is exacerbated by my inability to look at the evidence. If I don't look at the evidence, this fear just builds and builds and builds and builds.
And that's your responsibility. That's the responsibility we're talking about is stop yourself in that moment, be accountable.
And look for evidence. So here's the reality of that scenario, right? While I may have felt like there was a tremendous amount of uncertainty in the future, I never really had a lot of certainty, right? We never really did.
Not really.
So
maybe contracts and regular calls is your certainty.
So maybe, well, I can tell you concretely, I knew that the contracts were not going to be fulfilled. So that's the evidence that I have. Okay, schools are shutting down.
Yeah.
What we're going to do in April and May is not going to happen. Cool. But that doesn't mean that the business is over. That there's no evidence that this is the end of the road.
You're talking about like your brain processing, oh my God, worst case scenario, like most people do. It's worst case scenario, I'm going out of business. I'm done. This is crazy.
It went way too far, right? The evidence was, hey, we lost some contracts, not your business is on fire, run for the hills.
Yeah, bank account's empty. Oh my God, what do you do? Yeah, but your brain went there
easy
to protect you.
And here's some other evidence, right? I don't know what's going to change in education.
Sure.
Now, education was going to change. It still is changing. However, where it changes is based in emotion. Oh, it's going to change. Like, I'm never going to get back to this, or like, it's going to change against us, or it's never going to value us. And our service and product in the long run has gotten more valuable, which is interesting, but
cool, really cool too.
Yeah. But the evidence at the time that I created based on emotion was that schools were going to change against us. And that wasn't actual evidence. That was just fear-based. And I had to separate emotional evidence versus actual evidence. Another one, I think my fear in maybe like June was, I've got to figure out a way to self-manage better. And I don't know how to do that. I'm cooped up inside. So my fear was like
self-manage.
Yeah.
Not the business.
Yeah. I was so inside, and I'm like an extrovert, man, like sitting inside and being on Zoom all day ain't for me.
I love it.
But here I am mentally going through these ups and downs because I need to self-manage better. And my fear was if I keep going this direction, like something really, really bad is going to happen.
Sure.
And that was all emotion. The evidence was I just need a new pattern. It wasn't crazy complicated. I was just making it like absolutely humongous of a fix, trying to come up with ways to assuage this and solve it. So, if you're listening right now, you probably have things that you're dealing with in your life. You probably encountered a lot this year, and the objective of today's conversation is to help you split the emotions that you have, the fear, the hesitation, even on a positive side, right?
Sure.
Overwhelming happiness, overwhelming joy. A lot of people are spending money before they even get it. Like
totally,
people know they're getting $600 and now they're like, I got an extra $600 already.
Right.
So it can go both ways. And we're splitting that from, okay, what's real in this moment? Am I extending the circumstances? Am I exaggerating everything that's happening? And how do I split the two?
So I want to go back to something that you said triggered me to say, well, how do we know the genesis or like the foundation of all this stuff in ourselves? Because everybody's different. So everybody has a different variable. That's it. You are not going to be the same variable as even your parents, even though you kind of came from them, and not kind of, but you came from them, and you have their habits and their programming and all that stuff. So the background and foundation is, in a very simple sense, it's the stuff that happened to you in the past. Your brain wires that as a trauma or as evidence of fear or pain, or mostly pain, because it's got to avoid pain, right? Make the body last. And so your thought process that runs when COVID hits and when you think, oh my God, this whole thing's going down, the only thing that's running in your brain is the emergency tape of it pairs all the stuff that's ever given you pain and fear and hurt and all that stuff in your life, and it puts it all into one loop and goes, this is what's going to happen. And that's why your experience and my experience and the guy next to us and Meredith's, everybody's experience is going to be different, because our programming is different. Our agendas, our programming, our past conditioning, all that shit, our patterning is different. So if any of you are sitting there saying, yeah, well, I that's not my life, I didn't have that reaction, I'm this or I'm that, and I couldn't do what you do. Yes, you could. That's what I'm talking about. The responsibility and accountability is when that stuff pops up, realize that it is not in the moment that is reality. That is in the past. It could be 5 years or 25 years ago that now is coming into your present moment and affecting your decision in the present moment. we talk a lot about that. Personal development is not difficult. There's some basic foundational elements, and the rest of it's just up to you to make choices in moments. So that pain that comes into the present, that at that point is for you to make a determination. Do you go with that? Do you go with the crazy thoughts? Do you go with the masses who are unhappy or miserable? I mean, in the very small amounts of time that I ever caught the news, it's sickening to know what a lot of the population thinks
and is downloading.
Right. And it's angry and it's hateful. And I'm not saying all of it. I'm just saying just a couple pieces that I took. I mean, maybe I watched 20 minutes of news this entire year, unfortunately. Maybe I caught it at the gym or something. I saw the scroll. Let's call it an hour. Because this was an election year and I wanted to just find out some things going on. But mistake that I made was I watched the news. You know what I mean? Like, big mistake.
And it's very easy to take something that like triggers from the news, an emotion, right? Oh my God, I got to do this right now. Like, bro, toilet paper. I got to get it right now.
Right.
And then make it into something real, right? Like, toilet paper is running out. I better buy it right now. Well, yes, people are buying. It's still going to be like, it's coming back next week. Right. It's not going to not be here.
How much toilet paper do you really use?
Yeah. People were buying like 4,800 rolls.
Right. Here's the thing. If you're using a lot of toilet paper, here's the evidence. Eat different. Eat different. You won't have to wipe as much.
But I think that's a great example of evidence and emotion.
Totally.
Right? So you're like, oh my God, I got to get to the store today.
Right.
Meanwhile, you got 36 rolls in the cabinet.
Right.
Like, you're good for several weeks.
Right.
You know, I don't know how big your family is, but you go into emotion and create evidence that's not real evidence.
Right.
Like,
but again, it's based on the past.
Right.
In the one clip that your brain literally is like a shutter on a camera. It opened, it saw, it experienced, it registered, and it closed. And that wiring is in you.
Yep.
Period. It's in you, and it will not be rewired, which is called neuroplasticity. It won't be rewired until you rewire it.
Yep.
That's the best part.
Dude, and we as humans are pattern making machines. Like, we are so good at this. I think about this a lot, especially in work with clients, right? So here's an example. If you walk into a glass door one time,
yeah,
you will check every single like open space.
You'll be walking with your hand out like this around frames of doors.
There's no glass anywhere around you, but you walk with your hand out like you're high fiving.
You see a metal frame.
But that's only from one circumstance, right? So someone might crash their bike, right? A young kid crash their bike and all of a sudden they don't get up back on a bike. Or you ride a scooter, like some of these mechanical scooters, man, they zoom.
Yeah.
So like you jump on that, you fall off and you're like, I'm never riding a scooter again. So we make one moment into a huge pattern, right? Like, your taste buds change every 7 years. We don't like taste new stuff. We're like, I don't like,
yeah.
So we're so good.
Dig into that though, because think about it. Like, for those of you listening, that's what we do as humans. Like, listen, just be aware of the person at work or at, one of your employees or one of your friends or your spouse. Listen to their program. Yep. When they say it always, these people always, that person always, this never happens. When it rains, it pours. That's shit programming. Yep. Period.
Yep.
It does not exist in the real world. There's no evidence to back it up.
No evidence.
How can all be this? That's the problem. We're not going to go into like any type of cultural, racial, anything discussions, but that is a huge problem. You can't group everybody into one category. Yep. Not everybody does the same thing.
Yeah. And this is how patterns form.
Right.
We take one moment. There's very little evidence.
But there's pain and fear.
There's emotion there.
Emotion,
right? Those are emotions. And we attach them together and extrapolate them into a huge pattern. And I'm guilty of this. I've been there. I've done that.
It's easier to do that than the process.
It's incredibly easy. It's incredibly natural. And the people around us help create this curvature that spins it all back on us.
Well, that's also our group and our inner circle. That's one of our sacred circles, our 9 sacred circles in Frontrunner. Is our inner circle is crucial, because if someone is repeating that terrible programming, all, nothing, this, then, like, I heard somebody said, what kind of car do you drive? And I said, a Genesis. And they said, who makes that? I said, well, originally it was Hyundai and now it's Genesis. The companies go, all Hyundais are crap. Yep. I said, okay. All Hyundais are crap. Like, It's one of the biggest selling brands in the world, bro. Like
maybe 10 years ago.
yeah,
like,
well, no, maybe
different.
20 years ago when they were sold in boxes at gas stations, or
Yeah.
or actually more than that.
Yeah.
And I said, so have you ever driven a Genesis? And he said, no. And I said, well, maybe I'll let you take my car for a ride. Like, it's a beautiful car. Like, would I rather have a Bentley? Sure, but it's not in my world right now.
Yep.
And I love the Genesis over anything else I tried. So how can all Hyundais or all Genesis be shit?
Yep. Dude, I just bought a Hyundai. Right? I bought their performance car, their N line car, or N edition of the Veloster. And like, you know, that car, I had a buddy of mine who's a super car head.
Yeah.
Like, you know, his dream is like AMG Mercedes. Like, that is the top line model. And he got in the car. So this car is Hyundai's first performance car. They've come out with like similar to what BMW did, where they have like M, but they have M, and then they have M line.
Right.
M line is just like they put 10 grand on the sticker price and nothing changed. The M cars, just like the N with Hyundai, like they pull out all the stops.
Right.
And this car is zooming, and he gets in the car and he's like super hating, right? His emotion,
his program,
is like, man, you know, they're shit cars, and I'm gonna follow that evidence. This must be a shit car too. So he gets in a car. I let him do. This car is so fast. It's so much fun.
It is fast.
It's so fast. And so we zoom around, have a little bit of fun. And, you know, he's like, dude, this steering is incredible. Like the way they got all the horsepower is incredible. This is an amazing car.
Yeah.
And he had to break his evidence cycle so that he could change his emotional cycle.
Yeah.
It's wild.
That's a really good point. Really good point. But one of the pieces here is pay attention. One of your responsibilities and your accountability to your own growth and transformation is to pay attention to the people around you and the programming that they have. Because the moment that you can start, it's like a hot air balloon. It's not gonna rise like a plane. You're gonna slowly ascend. That's the right word? Yeah. Slowly ascend. You know me and words, man. Sometimes you just shit just comes out. Some of those words. All words I get wrong. No.
Words are wild.
Sometimes I say words that just they're like a combination of three words.
I love words. Words are amazing.
So instead of it being like a jet or a rocket ship that just instantly accelerates, your growth and transformation is like a hot air balloon, and you're rising over the landscape, the scenery, the crowd, to see it from a totally different vantage point at a higher elevation, right? So you can have a better perspective. So just think about, like, in your hot air balloon, rise above, and this doesn't mean that you're better than your friend group or that you're better than your parents or your spouse, but rise above the group and look at it, and don't get crazy. You're not looking down upon the group. You're seeing it from a different perspective, different angle, and you're seeing it as a whole versus as the individual opinions.
Bro, I gotta rip on something because it just hit me, and
go ahead.
I think this is gonna be huge. So I'm looking around the room, and oh, thanks guys. I appreciate the applause. Oh,
nope. Oh, yeah.
That's how.
What do we got?
So I'm looking around the room, and I noticed there's a hairdryer on the desk.
Yeah.
Right. So stay with me here.
Uh-oh.
So there's a hairdryer on the desk. Based on that, I could make a tremendous amount of patterns and evidence and emotions. So
go. I want to hear this.
I might be like, wow, all right, there's a hairdryer on the desk. Ian cares a lot, probably too much, about his appearance.
Mm-hmm.
Just based on the fact there's a hairdryer here. I have no evidence to support that.
None.
There's just a hairdryer.
Except that I round brush my hair to straighten it, which I probably shouldn't have told. Which I probably shouldn't have told all of you, but my hair is very wavy.
Hey, it is what it is. But I can take something like that. So assuming I didn't know you, right?
Yeah.
I can take that and I can make an entire story. So the only evidence I have is that there's a hairdryer here. You might have been, I don't know, like you need to dry something, like the carpet got wet. You need to dry the carpet. You know, who knows?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you could do with a hairdryer. But if I take that and I make an assumption about you, that is, you are self-righteous and you're narcissistic, all because there's a hairdryer on the table. There's very little evidence,
right?
And there's a lot of emotions.
There's no evidence if you think about it.
I mean, all I know is there's a hairdryer here,
right?
But I'm making all this emotion.
But it's in my office.
It's strange. We won't go there. But
I'll tell you exactly why it's here. You keep going.
Notice how powerful, if you're listening, notice how powerful it is. Like Ian might be the right coach for me. And because of something like this, I'm like, nope, ain't for me. I'm out.
Right.
because this person is all about him or all about his hair or like this is real. People do this.
I know.
Like,
That's what
I'm not working with that coach. He's not successful. He drives a Hyundai. Like,
right.
this happens.
It's
like
a big Hyundai.
It's very nice.
Yeah. I think it's smart.
But we can find, like, I could look around the table. I mean, same with like AirPods. Oh, he's fancy. You got AirPods. Too fancy. Too cool for us.
Think about that freaking racket, that tape that plays all day, every day.
Everything.
People who drive this are. People who have those clothes are. People who don't do this are. People like, dude, in the book, 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, Deepak Chopra's book, he literally says in one of the laws is oh my God, it's like take down the need for your opinion to be heard and realized.
Nice.
Or like your point to be taken.
Yep.
When you can sit in a group, and this is why, what people say to me, like, you're so different in person than you are, like, on your videos with your kid or on podcasts. And I say, I don't need you to know what I'm thinking. There's no room in the conversation for me, because the moment that comes out is the moment that you start judging. And I just don't want to engage in conversations like that.
Yep.
That's really it. So it's like, when you can take down that need to have your point of view be validated, like you're somebody, like you're right all the time, then you create power. Again, your hot air balloon just lifts off the ground a little bit higher, because you can just see a little bit more.
Yep.
Want to know the story behind the hairdryer? Sure.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Might help people. So 17 times a day, I like to do my hair. You're right.
There's a lot of evidence.
Right. No. So I use a hairdryer for white noise.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you
I could have totally, like, this is an example of, like, I could have totally gone down this dark spiral just because of something I saw.
One of the other sacred circles is communication. And that in that communication, instead of assuming based on emotion, based on something that you see and the emotion that registers, which most of the time is not real, in the communication circle, start to learn how to ask people what's going on with them. Be curious about what other people are experiencing.
Love that.
Right? And that's really it. Like, be curious about what someone else is experiencing, because you have no idea. I used to train a ton of real estate agents on cold calling and like prospecting calls. And they would say, man, I got like 25 people on the phone. They were all pissed off at me today. And I'm like, how egotistical of you. And they go, why? I go, how do you know? You have no idea what happened in that person's life 6 seconds before you called. So for you to think it was you is total ego. The fact that, like, their dog could have gotten run over, their grandmother could have died. They could have just gotten served divorce papers and your ass called.
Yep.
Think about that.
Yeah, so I'm a former soccer coach. I coached a lot. And I remember watching, as a soccer coach and player, there was like a series on Amazon from Tottenham when Jose Mourinho went there. And there was one particular scene that reminds me of this. Like, he came in one day, he was yelling at the players or was very disconnected. And after, a couple of minutes of practice, like, he could tell that the players were not responding well because of his emotion.
Yeah.
Right. Which, as a CEO, I recognize, like,
totally.
If I come in with a bad attitude, the rest of the team is going to have a bad attitude. They just absorb it.
Right.
And he sits everybody down. And he's like, look, I'm sorry that my attitude is shit. It's not because I don't like you. It's not because I'm angry. My dog died. And the whole ripple went out.
Dissipates. Yeah.
Their evidence shifted so their emotion could shift.
This is a powerful ass episode. For any of you that are like, I don't know about this. This is what drives your success in anything, right? So let's just, and I said this the other day on a video I did on Facebook. Let's not say success and abundance is money. It's not. I'm talking success in relationships, success in communication, success in education, happiness, anything, right? This is what robs us. I had a conversation with Casey today about mindshare. What is taking your mindshare? If you journal, which a coach made me do many years ago, if you journal all day long how you make meaning of shit, like, think about it, without any evidence, just based on your old programming, your old bullshit and fear, it literally consumes, I'm going to tell you, 50% of your day at minimum.
Yep.
So from the time you wake up, how it's Apple's fault for this, and it's BG's fault that your power went out, and it's this person's fault for this, and your wife's doing this, and she doesn't care about you, and bam, bam, to get in your car and I don't have a nice car because my job this, and that guy took my job, and that guy got the promotion over me, and then you go to Starbucks, and somebody cuts in front of you in line, and that person doesn't respect me, and this is bullshit. All people who drive Mercedes do that. Like, holy shit.
I know, it's gnarly.
And it's a snowball that goes downhill until you come home and you go, I hate this life. I hate this. I don't want to do this, but it's my parents' fault. It's this fault. It's the government's fault. It's this fault. I think I'm not going to say all of, but most of the problems that the world is experiencing could literally be solved or at least dissipated by everybody having accountability to their own shit and accountability and responsibility to the next thing that they think, not being based off of the emotions from the past. And we saw that with all the leadership. I'm not just talking about like main leadership. I'm talking about all the leadership. You literally watch 8-year-old children on TV throwing a temper tantrum. And these are people that run our country.
Yep.
Like, I don't care who you voted for. I don't care who you like and who you don't like. Almost every politician you see out there is an 8-year-old child on the playground who got a toy taken from them, who doesn't get their way.
I hear that.
Period. And I'm not saying anything about politics or anything about that. I'm just saying this is about humans.
And being a leader, right?
And being a leader, right.
If you can't master this, then
Totally.
it's hard to be a leader, especially when others are leaning on you for their evidence.
Right.
If you don't have your evidence and shit together, how can you lead?
Sure.
I think from a practical perspective, what we're advocating for is that when you hear the beginning of the sentence and it starts with she is, he isn't, they aren't, they won't, anything that begins that way, you should be able to stop the train before it crashes, because what comes after that is evidence, quote unquote, I'm bunny earsing evidence that you will use to power an emotion. So if she's a mean person, she's not going to help me, she would never promote me, he likes he would never date me, or he must be an asshole, right?
Sure.
Like these things, they're so slippery and slimy that they infiltrate our lanes and just make everything harder. And if you can begin to hear that thought, we're talking about awareness here, right? Stepping back to hear that thought and dismantle it before that sentence is complete, your life will change. If you can stop the train before it crashes into this big evidential pile, you will change your life.
Yeah, and this is a lot bigger episode. This is a lot bigger topic than you'll ever realize until you realize it.
Yep.
Let's go for so let me just talk about some more evidence that this is what the brain does. This isn't your conscious, this is the subconscious, just acting, right? So your brain, like in high school, when you got dumped or somebody said no to you about prom, your brain literally said pain, registration, group them in a category, move on. So I just want to make this really simple to paint a picture, because I do get a ton of positive feedback, and I do get some feedback. It's not negative. There's nothing negative about it. It's questioning, and I want to make sure that we're more explanatory in our explanation. If that, yeah,
definitely got it.
So you're gaining the evidence, the sort of evidence that doesn't serve you. You're gaining that by your experiences, and your brain is registering as a pain or a fear, like when you didn't get asked to prom and all boys this or all girls this, or you got rejected, or you got made fun of by this group of people or that person, or somebody hit your car, or somebody cut you off and whatever. Your brain cannot say that guy really was, not a nice person. Your brain says those people, right? That they, and I'm not talking like non-binary stuff. I'm just talking in general, like the
car salesman,
yeah.
Musicians are all
right. And that's a huge problem with, and again, I don't want to get too deep in this, but like race and culture, how many people say those people or they, you know what I mean? Like, and we have these general societal stereotypes that are, some of them are just commonplace, right? And they're like accepted, and it's kind of sad, but that is not real. in most, movies where you have, like, I think of a movie that has a great premise to it, American History X. You ever seen that movie with
long time.
Edward Norton?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a regular dude, and his dad gets killed, right? And then he goes to jail, and he meets a guy from the same group, right? Same culture, same race of people that he thinks killed his dad. And he's so angry to this entire freaking group, right? Then he meets this dude. I think it was in like the laundry in the prison, and he realizes how wrong he's been. And it's actually a very beautiful movie. It's rough, so don't watch it with your kids, but it's actually a very beautiful movie because of the lessons that he learns. It's the first example that I was just thinking of. But like, all of those things happen when an event happens to us, and that's trauma. And that's it could be, you're chained up and beaten as a kid, God forbid, but if you were, that is what it is. Or your parents loved on you too much. There's trauma in all of those things, and your brain registers, I don't like this, it's too much of this, I don't want this again. So anything that even looks close to that, you're out. Got attacked by a dog when you were younger and it bit your arm in half, you are going to judge every single dog because of the pain associated. Your brain wired that to keep you alive, period. But you do the same thing in business, in sales calls. I watch these agents. I've coached hundreds, maybe thousands of agents on cold calling and prospecting. And it's like, I literally say to them, who is this person in your mind before you even start calling? Who is the person on the other line? Who's that reminding you of? Dad or mom, teacher, grandfather? And they're like, they'll tell you, and you go, great, it's not them. Evidentially, it's literally not them unless you dial your dad.
Yep.
It's not your dad. So stop believing that your dad from 30 years ago is now the person on this phone who's going to yell at you because you messed up a word, like that happened to you when you were 10 and your dad did that to you.
Dang.
Don't do that.
That's deep, man. That's
deep. You're responsible for breaking the cycle. Nobody's going to save you. You can come to a front runner event, which will be powerful as shit for you. You can hire Aaron and I both to coach you one-on-one every single day for 8 hours. You'll never, ever, ever cross the line until you cross the line. Yep. That's it. Like, you have to make a decision. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to have these thoughts. I'm not going to let these thoughts from the past run my future or create my future and run my present. So stop it. Stop it. That easy.
I had a client this year. Nice. Right in the middle of my thing. I had a client this year that 10x'd her income.
Yeah.
10x'd her income.
She only made $10 a day, but that's fine.
It doesn't matter.
No, 10x is a lot.
Yeah. Whether it was $10 or not.
Just kidding.
Huge. And I'm really proud of her for that.
Yeah.
And she did that, right? As a coach, I didn't do that. She did that.
No.
I helped her deal with what was in the way so that she could do that.
Right.
But what's interesting is, we had some early conversations about her hourly rate. So I might say something like this to you if I end up coaching someone listening. I might say something like, what do you think your time's worth? And they'd be like, $50 an hour. Like, okay, well, what would you like it to be? Well, $200 an hour.
Right.
Right. And I'll say, okay, well, let's make it $200 an hour. And the response to that is so fascinating.
Yeah.
Because usually it's something like, no one will pay me that. Or like, I'm not good enough for that.
Yeah.
And right, we have a lot of like lines that we live by, but I'll say like, well, when's the last time that you've asked for that? And usually the answer is never. I've never like, if you go to a client, you say, hey, I'm bumping my rate up from 50 to 100, and they say no, now you have some evidence. But if you haven't asked that and you're like, they're never going to pay me $100 an hour, you won't, there's no evidence.
Right. But what you are scared of is the one time you asked for something, got rejected, right? Slapped on the wrist, punched in the face, hurt, rejected before the prom or something or whatever in front of the entire school, whatever movie premise. You literally are rolling with that.
Yep.
You're literally rolling with that into this present situation.
Yeah. And that is going to ripple into every other category of your life.
Right.
So I want X, but if I ask for it, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get hurt, slapped on the wrist. And therefore, this must be like the last time that I did something brave.
10 years ago.
Yeah. And failed or got slapped on the wrist or got in trouble.
Right.
And, it's really cool to see someone overcome that.
Sure.
And most gratifying as a coach is to watch someone realize that they've overcome that, right?
Totally.
Like I overcame it. And it's kind of like, when your kid does something cool. I don't have any kids, but like I've worked with kids a lot. So they do something cool and they look back at you and they're like, yes, they're like, oh, did you see that I just did that?
Right.
It's very similar, right?
Yeah.
To watch a client, go from, X to 10X
Yep.
and look back and be like, wow, I can't believe I did that.
I know.
And now we have new evidence and we install new evidence to say,
support the theory. Yeah.
Now your 10X becomes X. Now let's keep going. And they have new evidence to say, I can actually do this. So we're rewriting this as we go. And it all comes down to awareness, but figuring out this puzzle is the puzzle of life to me.
It's big because here's the thing. For those of you that are like, well, yeah, I mean, I could 50 to 200, no problem. I could do that. But what you're not thinking about is the disconnect is not in 50 to 200. It's in the belief that it's possible, the evidence that it's possible, and the work to get the brain and the who you're being. And Aaron and I talk about that a lot. The work and to get from who you're being, which is a $50 an hour person, to become a $200 an hour person.
Yep.
That's where the work is.
Yep.
It's not in, well, I guess I could tweak this in my business and I could cut my costs and I could do this. You'll never sustain that. And if you think sustainability is a light topic, it's not. Sustainability and transformation and personal development is key because, again, like we talked about in the beginning, you don't want to pull that rubber band and then it snaps back and you've pulled a relationship, a new relationship, and you pulled a business and you pulled this all the way up and now you snap back 20 paces. The lag indicator is that the business, the relationship, this, your body, if you're working out, it's all going to snap back. And that's why you have those ups and downs. Like in real estate, you call it the real estate roller coaster. Every agent who doesn't work on themselves goes through feast and famine, feast and famine, feast and famine, feast and famine.
Yep.
Or here's the other side of the coin, or they rock out the successful realtor piece or the successful business piece, and all the other gardens or circles are shot. Mm-hmm. Fitness and health, their relationships suck, their communication sucks, their mental and emotional health sucks. Yep. Right? Their money, we call it active and passive income for the money in, the acquisition of money, and then we just call the category money, the circle of money for the what you do with it, how you spend it, what do you do with it after acquisition, post acquisition money. Yep. All those things are shot. And I get a lot of people who are like, dude, my business is crushing it, but my wife left me and my kids don't talk to me and I gained 65 pounds. And I'm like, yeah, of course, because the rubber band snapped back for all those other sacred circles, but it didn't snap back for the success because that's the only thing you've been focusing on. Yep. Right? And that's the same thing.
Super well said, man.
Yeah.
If you're looking back at 2020, this is a great time to find the appropriate amount of evidence to support a very bright 21. Like I went through a lot this year and I could, if I wanted to, I could find evidence that I'm not a good enough leader, that I'm not good enough to carry forward, that my goals were too high. I could find that evidence.
But then you're searching for things.
I'm making it up.
Then the reality is you don't want to do those things. You want to talk about being successful, but you'd rather just keep yourself pinned down by making up a bunch of crap.
And instead, my choice is to develop the awareness that I've got two things to manage: my evidence and my emotion.
Right.
And when I look back at 20, I can choose the things that are evidence that the things that I want in 21 are not only possible, but they're on the trajectory that I'm on. And as we kind of wrap this, I think the individual listening should do two things really. One, when you look back at 20, look at things that are evidence of your future success.
And really, we're in your control.
Yeah. And we're a part of your influence.
Sure.
The way you showed up, the way this was a tough year for a lot of people. And that doesn't mean that it was a bad year or a good year, right? Those are indifferent to whether or not it was a hard year. So this was a hard year for me. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
But That doesn't make it a bad year. Doesn't make it a good year. It's just a hard year.
Sure.
And I'm looking for evidence, and I think everyone should look for evidence that promotes them to their brighter future.
Yeah.
That's one. And then two, look at the reasons that you're saying that you can't have X or build Y or create Z, and eliminate that evidence, and you'll naturally eliminate that emotion. And if you did those two things, 21 is going to be a great fucking year.
That's right. I was getting my hair cut this morning, and the girl cutting my hair was like, yo, how's everything going? I said, you know what? 2020 has literally been the best year of my life.
That's amazing.
And she turns around, she's like, really? And I said, yeah, it's all my choice. It's all my choice. Because think about it. COVID happened, right? You want to make up a story about it? Go ahead. But at the end of the day, there's so much mind shared, time wasted and spent on this person's opinion, that person's opinion, this person's thing. And some people are influential, and it changes your opinion. All you need to say is, look, there's a global pandemic going on. Seems that masks are appropriate. Okay, I'll wear a mask.
Yep.
And whatever you're thinking right now, if you're like this anti-masker or whatever the fuck you got going on, stop.
What evidence are you building about?
Right. And if it makes you embarrassed, like we've all felt that. Like I don't want to wear a mask in public, but guess what? My mission, the greater good, is I have 2 children at home. I have a wife that takes care of all of us, right? So I go out a lot and I do a lot of stuff in the world. I don't want to bring anything back home. And I'm not making it right or wrong. I'm just saying, you know what? I choose to wear a mask because that seems like the thing that you should be doing. And that's it. And I don't make any other crap about it.
Yep.
That's it. I'm not saying, well, what evidence is based off of. I'm not saying, are the numbers real? Is CNN versus Fox? I'm not saying any of that. I don't let any of that into my mind. It's like, all right, you know what? I don't have any evidence to support against it right now.
Yep.
And it doesn't make you a follower. It doesn't make you a lemming. I'm like, the general consensus looks like masks. Does a mask hurt me or my family? No. Can it help it a little bit? Yeah, there's evidence to support that. Great. Put a freaking mask on. Don't spend any more time or mind share or mind power or attention or energy focused on that. Right?
Phone, wallet, keys, mask.
Right. Done. Super easy. Just keep a mask in your car. Keep this. And I'm not like advocating masks. I'm not on like a soapbox here. What I'm saying is, when that shit came down, I had a choice. And this is where we go into the accountability and responsibility in the moment. I had a choice. I don't want to wear a mask, but it seems that my mission in life, the general overall overarching mission, says it's probably smart for you to do that. Does it hurt you at all? No. So go ahead and do that. It's fine. Does it hurt everybody else? No. Probably helps. What evidence do you have? I don't know. I mean, look, I'm a science-based person, an evidence-based person. Looks like it could be helpful. Cool. And if I find any different evidence, without weighing in every effing person's opinion, I might change myself up. But I wanted to make this the best year ever in business, in family. I wanted to build the life that I wanted. And so when COVID hit and things started getting shut down, I said, okay, in this moment, I have a choice. I still make this the best year ever and just pivot things and shift things as I need to, or I go with the waves. And at every moment that's like, fuck, another city got shut down that we were supposed to do a front runner event, or another this got shut down, or I was supposed to fly out to LA this month. Oh, the next month. Oh, no, the next month. Oh, now it's LA is completely shut down. Like, okay, that's cool. So how do we pivot fast? All right, instead of going to LA, hey, let's get a couple guys on Zoom. Let's talk about the stuff we were going to talk about. And what you find is, one, you have a lot more energy. You're not chasing all these freaking cats around. You're actually only focused on the things that benefit and are supportive of the mission that you have and the purpose that you have here. Not everybody else's that you're trying to prove wrong or trying to prove right, or make yourself like, it's tiring. And I used to do that. But the life that I want was going to come from becoming a person that doesn't go down rabbit holes and says, evidence, cool, make a pivot. Yeah, go left. Great. Left. It is. And don't drag any of the other BS with you. Now, I want to talk about something before we wrap up. I want to talk about the other side of the coin for this blow dryer thing. The other side of the coin is, what's Aaron going to think about a blow dryer sitting on my desk? Right?
Yep.
And there's an emotion there. Now, it wasn't in this case, but maybe the old me was. And it was based off of, it's weird. What's he going to think I was doing with that? Why is that in here? Is this a weird place for it? And I could have spun all of that up. all of that up. But I didn't because obviously I know you, and you'd be like, yo, why is a blow dryer on your desk? And I would have told you.
Yep.
But the person that I've become doesn't give a shit what you think about. You're in my office, my studio.
Yep.
I appreciate your opinion highly, but not for some dumb stuff. If you're like, bro, it's weird as fuck. You have a blow dryer on your desk. I don't know if I can do this podcast. It'd be like, bye bye.
That would be so weird.
Bye bye.
Yeah, you said something in there that I want to pull out, just so that everyone can hear it and see it cleanly.
Yeah.
You talked about finding evidence.
Oh,
and
looking for it. Yeah.
So here's what I think of, right? When I look back at this year, I'm actually really glad that this happened this early into my entrepreneur career. Here's what I learned this year. And this is part of finding evidence. I learned that when the world experiences a massive shift, I'm prepared to shift.
Totally.
And I can lead a team. I can lead a business. I can lead myself through that. No matter how foggy it gets, no matter how scary it gets, I'm capable of navigating that. Finding evidence is like a Where's Waldo puzzle.
Right.
When you, if you know about Where's Waldo puzzles, then you'll love this analogy, but this is like the best, most concrete way I could explain this. I'm so glad this thought hit me. Finding it is like a Where's Waldo puzzle. When you go down the side of a Where's Waldo, it's like 2 pages, and on the right or on the bottom, there's like, find these people.
Right.
When you're looking for the wizard, it's got like the red robe, the blue hat, and the spiral cane.
Yeah.
You do not see all of the other stuff. You just look for the wizard.
Right.
And nothing else matters. So when you find the wizard, you're like,
in a huge page, for those of you that don't know what Where's Waldo is.
Yeah. Google Where's Waldo.
Yeah. This is like a 15-inch wide book, and the wizard is like the size of a Q-tip.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the head of
a Q-tip or a pin.
Yeah. It's very small. So like
that's
you
a good
have to
analogy.
scan all these things for the
Right.
wizard. But when you're looking for the wizard, you don't find Waldo, who's like this skinny guy with jeans and a striped red and black or red and white shirt with a hat on. Like,
what an awesome concept.
You don't find Waldo. And you have a choice right here, right now, to choose what you look back at 2020 as and what you look at 2021 as.
Sure.
If you're looking for Waldo, you will find the evidence of Waldo, and therefore your emotions will be different. If Waldo is chaos and mistakes and blunders and failures, you will see that in your 2020, and your emotions will be generated from that, and your 21 will be different. If you're looking for the wizard, which is, you did well, you managed, you navigated the crisis, you took care of your family, you took care of your friends, you showed up for other people, you managed your health well, you mentally were stable, then your 21 will be different because it's based on those emotions. And again, I would encourage everyone to really lean in on that analogy and look at any seek and find as you would your 2020 review. Mike, press the mic drop button.
Oh, I don't have it.
Press it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I got. I will program. I don't know how to do it. I will figure it out.
What sound does a mic drop? Just like,
or
yeah.
But it's got to be a mic that's on, so you hear like,
yeah.
I don't know if that's the right noise.
Yeah. If you're out there and you know how a mic drop sounds,
send me a file. Yeah, send me a file with the sound. I'll put it in this.
Send us the sounds. Help.
And then I'll promote you. I'll give your Instagram handle, whatever. I'll promote you.
Yeah.
You help us out with a mic drop.
Us.
But then here's the problem. We're going to get nuts with it, and we're going to mic drop every 6 seconds. People are going to be like,
no, it's got to be a powerful, like,
it's gonna
Thanos snap.
It's going to be men on mic dropping. Mic dropping on purpose. All right, there's something I want to just say real quick. I am not negating the fact that this year has been heavy for people. I'm not negating that there's been loss and pain and sadness and suffering and all kinds of shit going on. What I am saying in the grand scheme of things is that we all have a choice when faced with something in front of us. We all have a choice. Every single one of us has a choice. Harvey Specter on the show Suits explains it really well. When a gun is to your head, you don't have one choice. You have 134 choices.
Yeah.
Right? And the moment that you think you have one choice, or that you have to go with the general consensus of the crowd or whatever, just don't go down that road, right? Don't mail me and say, I lost somebody due to COVID. I'm very empathetic to that. I'm not saying anything about that. What I'm saying is you have a choice as to how it affects you, right? Unless you have COVID and you are in the hospital and you still actually have a choice. You still have a mindset choice, whether you're going to fight or not. You still have a choice.
Yep.
I'm not going down the whole medical route. I'm just saying we're only talking about mindset. You have a mindset choice at every moment, right? At every moment. And this is we could talk about this again too, because this is a very deep level topic. Oh, the exercise. Thank you for being patient, peeps. The exercise. So the exercise that I like to do is I take a piece of paper and I draw a line down the middle, right? That's easy. Blank piece of paper or in your journal, draw a line down the middle. On one side says evidence, on the other side says emotion. And on the top of the page, right, all the way at the top, you're going to write what you think is real, right? All people do this. All this happens there. I can't do this. I'll never be worth $200 an hour. I cannot start this business. I can't quit this job. Put all the evidence that you have to support that crazy theory. And I say crazy because it's not evidence-based. It's based off of something from in the past. And then write down on the right side, write down all the emotions that support that theory, right? The emotions are severely going to outweigh, especially if it's a negative, like I can't do that, or I don't know this, or I'm not worth $200 an hour or $500 an hour, or I can't quit my job and start a business. Write down everything you've got. And I am betting you that your emotions will outweigh the evidence, which shows you that it's not based in reality. It's based in past programming conditioning, and you should have another look at it, and you should come to a front runner event, and you should call Aaron and I to work you through it. No joke. No pitch. I'm just saying you should do that.
Super important.
Yeah.
Dude, like coaching is another interesting evidence and emotion, that maybe we could talk about. Like,
sure.
I for the most of my life, I've struggled to be like, I need to find a coach, because I'm like, the evidence and the emotion pattern is incorrect.
What do you mean?
I just always was like, well, they're not here to help me, or I don't trust them, or they just want my cash.
Oh, it's like agenda.
Yeah. I really struggle with that. And it's important to walk people through that sometimes, because the best thing you can do is have somebody go with you so you're not alone. That's the evidence.
Yep. The type of coach that I look for is a blind spot monitor.
I like that.
That's what I am for people. That's what you are for people. We are not in coaching for a living, right? We can find other places and ways to make a living. We're in coaching
for your living.
For your ooh.
That's good.
I'm gonna have Christine mark that and put that on a snippet.
Make that a t-shirt, please.
We're in coaching for your
living. Dang.
Yeah.
Dang, bro. You hear that, Man on Purpose? That's legit. That was worth it. That would have been a mic.
That was a bing,
bing, bing, that was a mic drop.
Yeah.
Beep.
Yeah. Yeah. It needs to be mic'd down a set of stairs, though. Oh man, now I lost my train of thought.
We need to wrap this up.
No, we're wrapping. So, all right, it's you got that exercise. It's literally that simple. Again, personal development does not need to be hard. We make it hard because we bring all of our BS into it, all of our emotions into it, all the past programming into it. Let it be simple. Figure out what's going on. If you come across something, it's Christmas, it's new. Well, actually, this is going to be at the end, mid-January that you're hearing this for the first time. So if you are struggling with, I couldn't make my New Year's resolutions work, I couldn't figure out how to do this, I really wanted to quit my job, I can't, just write that down. It's usually a negative. Write it down. Underneath of it, draw a line down the center of the paper. On the left, write evidence. On the right, write emotion. And then underneath of it, put what you got. The emotions you're feeling, scared, whatever, anything, everything that you're feeling. And then on the left, put the actual evidence to support that theory that you're not worth $200 an hour, or that you can't do this, or you can't do that, whatever it is. That is now that's your evidence. It's your calling card moving forward to show that you can do this.
I just took a selfie.
You taking pictures of me?
No, I took a selfie.
Oh, that's weird.
It's like Christmas Eve.
My evidence says
Santa Claus.
My evidence says this is weird. Only because I'm watching you from across the desk and you're like making faces, and I'm like, are you making faces at me? What the hell's wrong with you? All right, let's wrap this thing up. If you enjoyed this, let us know. Here's the thing. This podcast is gaining severe momentum and traction, which we've had traction, but we're getting even more and more because our programming is like, I'm going to say this, our programming is awesome. The stuff that we're bringing is awesome. And that's because you are telling us that. And that's why we keep bringing more of it. So If you're listening to this, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Obviously, if you're not listening to it, you haven't heard me say thank you, so it doesn't matter. But we're grateful for you listening and downloading and rating and reviewing. And if you have not rated and reviewed this podcast, please, please, please do that. That's how I know. That's my evidence, right? It's my evidence to know what to crank up, what more to bring. So go subscribe to Men on Purpose on iTunes or Spotify, whatever channel you're listening or however you're listening right now. Give us a rate and give us a rating and a review. I'd be so appreciative of that. And as always, if you want to find out about Aaron and I, our front runner events, our coaching programs, anything that we have going on, you can go to my website, ianlobas.com/apply, ianlobas.com/apply. Book a call, jump on with us. We don't bite. We'll help you. We'll take you into some really cool, deep level conversations about what's going on in your life. We'll help you through the evidence versus emotion. We've got, probably 25 other exercises and other things that we do. Remember, we keep personal development, personal transformation really freaking easy and simple. So don't hesitate. People who are on purpose take action. So go to the website, ianlobas.com. Click on the little button that says apply for a phone call or subscribe or book a phone call with Ian and Aaron. Do it. And I promise you, our mission behind that phone call or the Zoom call is to make sure that after that phone call, actually during it, but after that phone call, you literally go, my life's different today. And it's sustainably different. Not only did I hear something different, I now have a how to take this forward. And that's super important.
You know why? Because we do coaching for your living.
Whoa.
Boom.
See that?
Thanks, guys.
Coaching for your living. All right, everybody. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.
Thanks again for listening to the Men on Purpose podcast, where our mission is to educate, elevate, and activate every man to truly live their best, most fulfilling life possible. To find out more about the podcast, our guests, or becoming a man on purpose, visit menonpurposepodcast.com and choose your most purposeful path forward.